Well, howdy, y'all. You, you're saying, what in the world are you doing? Well, I've been out here working on this Buick, and I remembered a request that my daughters had made of me. And they said, Dad, tell us about when you grew up, some of the real details. When I say real details, I mean, there weren't no bad stuff, just things that we had done there at our home environment, little things that we had to do, and just really about the farm life. And I said, all right, sometime I'll do that. So, what better time than right now? I just stopped work on this and said, let's do it now. Well, as I've mentioned to you several times, we grew up on a farm. And I'm telling you what, the way they portray farm life now, it's got this romantic stuff and this and this. It ain't that, y'all. I'm telling you right now. Growing up on a farm, when the farm is your only means of survival, it makes it pretty tough. I mean, that's all you have. Now, you say, well, tell us about it. I come from a family of 7. I have 4 sisters, myself, and my parents. We grew up on a farm way out in the country. When I say way out in the country, in North Carolina. A lot of people ask me sometimes, say, where are you from? And I tell them, and they say, never heard of it. I said, well, you know Asheville? Oh, yeah, we heard of Asheville. Well, that's not where I'm from. It's the biggest town that you'd recognize around that way. And I grew up in a little town called Barnardsville. Now, some of y'all know where I'm talking about. It's not really a town. I don't even believe now it has a red light. It's way back in, it's right at the foothills of the mountains there. I mean, it's a beautiful setting, it really is. And we had the farm that we farmed. We had some cash crops. And our cash crops was tobacco, corn, tomatoes, beans, stuff like that. Now this stuff you could sell at the market on your like vegetables and all like that. During the summer, the farmer's market, you bring money for them enough to sustain your living. And then we had our winter money. Winter money was the tobacco. When you cut it in the fall of the year, you'd hang it in the barn, let it cure out. Then when it got cured out, you classed it by sections, you know, like a good, better, and best type thing on it. Well, in that usually occurred around last of November, first couple weeks of December, made it just about right for the Christmas season and all like that. But that's your end of the year money. Now, it's a pretty good check, but you have to really be frugal with your money. I mean, it looks like a big check when you get it, you run out and spend it all. And in those days, no such things as credit cards. I think we had my dad might have had a Sears card. I can't recollect him using it though, and maybe even a Penny's card. But you didn't have all the big other cards that we knew of. Probably did, but we didn't have any. And on your cash crops, that's what lasted you from one group to the next to the next. By the time you'd hold back enough money to where when you'd get your spring planting all done, those crops would be coming in, you could be selling those, and your winter money from your tobacco would still be enough to, you had to really monitor your money. And we didn't have a lot of money to flash around, if you will. Oh, we had enough to get us by. When I say to get us by, you know, few supplies we'd buy in town. Most of the stuff we grew right there on the farm. And I remember events throughout the year. We'd be out of school in November around Thanksgiving time. Well, that was also hog killing time. Oh, and to those that haven't been in that, that's really quite different. And we had always had 2. We'd take out one and put a small one back to where you just kind of on a cycling type thing. Had beef also, done the same. You had you one of those kind in reserve. And you didn't have refrigeration, you know, to, like say when you had one of them whole animals there, what are you gonna do with it? Well, on our farm, we had a smokehouse. And that smokehouse was big enough to say, when you had a whole, maybe a half side of beef, you'd kill one with one of your fellow farmers. Or maybe you had the whole thing. There'd be enough room in your smokehouse to store that. Now, what you didn't smoke, well, it was fresh meat, so how do you preserve that? You pack it in salt, and it'll stay, and it doesn't make the meat that salty on the surface. You just scrape it back away and trim it off a little bit, and it's okay. But that's, I guess, it was kind of it's the way everybody done it. So it was nothing unusual about it. It's just the way that things were, I guess, look at it that way. And then when we had our Christmas time away, out of school and all, that was, we made a lot of the gifts that we gave to each other, and it was so different than today's stuff on it. Little gifts that we made were pretty small, but it was from the heart gifts, if you will. And during that winter vacation, one of the things that we done too, and everything kind of contributed to the economy of the house and the farm. On the farm, we had a lot of black walnut trees. And those black walnuts, old walnuts about that big, and the skin on that thing, man, it will stain you. Oh. So we'd get out there, and when you first get to walnut, it's kind of a green, still pretty hard. But as it ripens a little more after it falls off the tree, then it just turns this black outer shell on it. And you get those things up. Whew. We didn't have gloves for it like that, so you just get that stain all over you. Now, you take that outside shell off and put them out in the sun and let them dry good. Now you have just the walnut itself. So or a Christmas break, if you will. So we're not driving everybody crazy in the house. You got you a rock and some kind of a hammer. You sit down in your little place over here and you crack out walnuts. Man, you'd get your fingers and little scratches and cuts and stuff. But even then, you could take those to town and sell them for anywhere from $2 to $3.50 a pound, which was big money, we thought. I mean, take you a while to crack out a pound of them on the thing, but what else you gonna do? And that was, but a lot of people had depended on us from year to year to year. Hey, you guys gonna have the black walnuts this year? Yeah. And they were all about, none of them were ever wasted on it. And you come away there with your hands black as, oh my. Finally you could take, to get a lot of it off, you could just soak your hands in bleach and take a lot of it away, but it's staining your hands a little white too. Well, that was some of the things we'd done on the farm. We had a couple of persimmon trees, and my mom made some pretty good persimmon pies. So you had to know how to gather those things, because if you didn't, oh, you talk about bitter as quinine. You bite into a persimmon that's not ripe, oh, it will turn your mouth inside out. And we made a lot of, she made a crabapple dessert. Same with it, it's just a little small apple called a crabapple. Get it at the wrong time and boy, is that thing bitter. But you get it right and it makes a real good pie. And she'd make a lot of fried pies from those things. Made her own, when she'd make out her batter, roll out her dough, it was real thin. And then she cooked up her mix, like for the fried pies. And when she got it all cooked up, she spread it on it, fold it back over, and kind of mashed the edges together around it. And then she fried that in this big frying pan she had. And it was great. I mean, we didn't know how good that it was, because if you went out in the local economy, say if you went to town or something, whatever, and tried to buy something like it, nothing doing, because they didn't have anything like it. They just wasn't there. And I've often thought it would have been nice if we had the ability to mass produce those in that way. It would have been a big seller, but it had her touch on all of those things. And that was stuff that she made at her meals to do that, and she'd do different pies, do a rhubarb pie. Of course, peaches, we had some peaches, a peach tree right on the farm, apple trees on the farm there. We had, and she'd make different ones. Had a lot of strawberries. Now, we had a lot of wild strawberries on the farm, and those are really good. Not that big, but, well, I don't know, the big ones, about as big as the end of your finger there. We gathered up a bunch of them, and a lot of cherry trees on the farm, gathered up those things on it. And that was just the community, I say community, it was community of us doing things for the family, so to speak. Stuff that you was doing this out of survival. Yeah, it was fun, yeah, it sure was. And we had, But all this stuff, we couldn't afford to go buy it. As the old guy said, we're so poor we couldn't pay attention. So we had, chickens. Let me tell you about chickens. There's a breed of chicken out there called game chickens. And oh my. We had 100 of those on the farm there. And them things they're just about wild. But the eggs are very good on a thing, and when you wanted, say, a chicken dinner, like on Sunday or something like that, why, you could call them in and give them feed that we'd made up. We'd take crushed corn, stuff like that, and it and a few other things, and pitch it out in the yard there, and you'd get a few of them come in. And my mom had this big old long wire, had a big hook on the end of it, big stiff wire, and she'd be out there feeding them, and she'd rush that wire up under there. They wouldn't see it. Grab one by the leg, and it's like, oh, there's chicken dinner there. She'd get 2 of those, and that's enough for the whole family for a big chicken dinner. But that was, I don't know, it's just the way we done things on it. We didn't think about running to the store and buying a pack of chicken. We couldn't do it if we wanted to anyway. And all the stuff was that way. Then throughout the summer, we canned the stuff that we used in the winter. We made a lot of soups, cooked them up during the summer months, put them in jars, and run through the pressure cooker cooking cycle, and then store them in a little dark room we had there. And that was a lot of our winter food. It's just stuff that I don't guess we give it a whole lot of thought to, like, either do this or you starve to death type thing. But we done it as a family. It was fun as a family. And we made the assumption that everybody done things that way. Well, it wasn't that way. Because we were some of the poor people out there. We was poor and we didn't know it. But that's the way it was. Now, I tried to show my girls, who this is dedicated to my girls, some of the things that we had done. They got to meet my folks a little bit there before my folks died. And some of the stuff that we done, they got a kick out of, see, we didn't have indoor plumbing or anything like that. Didn't have indoor running water, none of that stuff, And I remember it was late in summer one year. We were out playing ball out in the yard. We got homemade bats we made, and we'd rolled up this little made like a ball out of some rags. You can wrap them a certain way, and it makes it pretty tight. Well, anyway, one of the neighbor guys come down. He's lived not too awfully far from the house, but he was a bat slinger. And after he hit the ball, he was bad to sling that bat. He'd just get excited to go run to the first base. Well, when he slung that bat, and my room was upstairs in our old farmhouse there. Well, that bat flew out of his hand. I remember hearing it go through the air. Bang! Banged into a window, broke a window out. Well, that was up in my room up there. And the glass comes sliding down this tin roof there that covers the porch. And my dad's sitting on the porch reading there, And he didn't get too excited. He just looked up from his glasses and said, "Yep, be a cold winter in that room this winter." And just went right back to his reading because we didn't have the money to replace the glass, and it was cold in there. Had to hang a little partial blanket thing up over that thing because that wind would blow right into that thing. So it was just stuff that, I don't know. You think back on those things and you think, my goodness, what in the world were we doing? But it was odd, we didn't have a lot of sickness in the family. We had 2 sources of heat in the whole house. We had a wood cook stove in the kitchen, and then in what we call the living room, there was a big pot-bellied heater there. And sometimes we'd have enough money to buy a little coal and put in it and mix with the wood. Made good heat, but that only give you heat in them 2 rooms. In the other rooms, oh my, in the wintertime, you go down and take you a blanket and hold it up next to the big stove there, to get it real warm. And you folded that thing up, ran to your bed, and put it over you, wrapped up in that, and you was good for the night. But that's, someone's probably gonna say, that's some kind of a fairy tale. No, that really happened.